So I want to talk today about this little plant right here. Probably have seen this around a few places. This is a dandelion. You can recognize it very easily by its leaves. They have serrated leaves. The flower is pretty distinct, and most people consider these a nuisance. I do not. Their flowers, just like any other, they're fairly prolific, which is why I think a lot of people consider them nuisances. But they have a lot of great uses too. One of which is Dandelion Root Coffee, which we will be making today. It is delicious. It tastes amazingly like coffee. It doesn't have the caffeine, so it might be a good alternative if you're looking to wean yourself from caffeine a little bit. You can use multiple parts of this plant. The flowers make a really nice tea. The leaves you can put in salads, and you can also make tea out of the leaves as well. I've done that. Has some of the same flavor as the flower head, but you get a really stronger flavor from the flower head. I don't use the stems for much. They're a little woody, don't have a lot of flavor to them, so I don't tend to use the stems. But it's a very useful plant. So one of the difficulties we're going to face when we're harvesting these is that dandelions have a defense mechanism to being uprooted, and we really want to get to that root. So when you try to uproot it, it has a spot where the root meets the rest of the plant that's above ground that breaks very easily. So if we just try to tear it up like this, it's just going to come off and we're going to lose the root underground. And what that does is it allows it to regrow the top of it. And we really want to get to the root to make the Dandelion Root Coffee. So I'm going to have to use a tool to get the root with this. One last thing I forgot to mention is that if you are very into lawn care and you're using fertilizers or other things on your grass, then you probably don't want to harvest these from your lawn. While we do mow our yard, we do not spray it with any chemicals, so I am comfortable harvesting from our yard in order to use these plants. But if you are using chemicals on your yard to remove weeds and so forth, I would not suggest harvesting from your yard. Instead, find a field or something like that untreated that you would then collect these plants from. So here's what I'll be using to harvest the plants. It's a handy little tool that you shove in the ground, twist, and then brings the plant up with the whole root. Alright, so we've harvested probably 8 or 10 of the dandelions. Some I got more of the root than others, but this should be good. And I'm just going to pull the heads off, the actual plant part off of the root. And then I'm just going to throw this away because I'm not going to do anything with these. So I'm just going to toss them into the woods to decompose. And then I'm just going to continue to do the same with the rest of them. And this will probably make enough for maybe a cup or two of the dandelion tea. And I usually don't do big batches of this, just because, I don't know, I like going out and gathering and then bringing back what I need, and then making what I need versus stockpiling a bunch. I will probably stockpile a little bit for when this is out of season, just so I'll have a little bit in case I want some, but I'll try to keep my stockpile to a minimum and just enjoy it when it's in season. And then I just rinse the roots. Make sure the dirt is off them. And then I just put them into a food processor to chop. And you want the pieces about the size of like, well, about the size of a coffee bean. So, I think I must have blown a fuse. Okay, one moment please. Okay, I think, yep, there we go, that works. I'm just going to chop these a little bit. That looks about right. Okay, and then we just need to put them on a sheet and bake them next. And I just use one of these small baking sheets for these small batches. Don't need much. Spread the roots out in a thin layer. And we're going to bake it in the oven at 300 for 2 hours. And then what that's going to do is just going to roast the roots, and that'll give us the nice coffee flavor. Alright, so now we've cooked down the root. Should be nice and loose on the pan. Maybe stick just a little bit, but should be really dry. Should break under your fingers. And that's it. So now we're going to wait for it to cool a little bit. I'll usually hit it one more time with the processor. That's about right. And this is what it will look like right at the end there. So, kind of looks like little pieces of bark. Alright, so once we've completed the final kind of chop, it's ready to be used. So I usually do a tablespoon with about 2 cups of hot water in a French press. And I just happen to know where the 2-cup line is on this French press. And then I let it sit for about 6 minutes to steep. You can see it already starting to turn a nice dark color. I'm just going to press it just a little bit to keep it in the water, and then let it sit for 6 minutes. Alright, so here we have our Dandelion Root Coffee. You can see it's a nice dark color. You can kind of see the top of my squid in my cup there. It's a fun squid cup. I probably should have used more dandelion root. It's a little bit thin. The first batch that I made came out really, really dark and I really liked it. But I haven't been able to get the rest of my batches to come out just as good as that first one, which is a little bit annoying. So maybe decrease the water to dandelion root ratio. Maybe do 1 tablespoon to 1 cup of water. It's still got a nice flavor at this 1 to 2 ratio, but yeah, I definitely would think I would like it a little bit darker. So I'll probably play around with that ratio a little bit more as we go, but it's good. It's got, like, it does taste exactly like coffee. The only difference that I taste in it between it and coffee is it has kind of a woody aftertaste, which I don't mind at all. It's actually quite nice. Mm-hmm. So, if you don't like the bitterness of coffee, this has a similar bitterness. You can use milk to decrease the bitterness of it. the lactose in milk binds to the things that make that bitter taste and mellow it out. So you can just put a splash of milk in there and that'll bind to the bitters. So let's talk safety again, as we always do. My normal disclaimer: when you're eating things or drinking things that are not made out of substances that are usually used in like commercial products, you need to be very, very careful. Do not take what I am saying as the letter of the law. I'm doing some weird experiments with stuff and learning as I go. I am no expert on this. So the herbal action for dandelion root, it is a diuretic. So if you drink a lot of this, you'll have to pee a lot. It's actually not too dissimilar from coffee itself. Is a mild diuretic as well. But the other thing that this does is it was traditionally used for urinary tract problems, as well as problems with your liver and gallbladder and kind of those kind of digestive issues as well. Supposedly it increases the production of various things in the liver and gallbladder and so forth. A lot of these are folk remedies, so there haven't been a lot of studies to prove its effectiveness. Doesn't mean they aren't effective, it just means we don't have scientific backing to some of these things. Even if that is the case and they have no effect on those, it's still quite a nice drink. So very drinkable. I have been impressed with this since I discovered that this was a thing, and enjoy it very much. It's a little bit dandelion root. It's the effort to amount collected is a little high, so I don't know that this is one that I'm going to make out of season or to stockpile a bunch of it. I think I kind of talked about this a little bit already, but it's very nice in season. It's great to just be able to go out, harvest some dandelions, make a nice cup of dandelion coffee, and just enjoy it. It's great. So talking a little bit about the flavor wheels and kind of where this falls. So the flavor profile of this kind of falls mostly into the woody area. So that's generally considered an herby taste, but it's got some really nice kind of savory flavors to it. Maybe something in the leathery range of the savory flavors, and then maybe like a nutty too, actually. Yeah, I'm getting a little bit of a nutty, maybe like a walnut, something like that. Maybe a little bit of grain too. Like it's pretty complex. Again, overall, you get that coffee flavor of the roasting, and you get that woody flavor. Those are probably the two biggest flavors that are coming out of this, but it's fairly complex. I really like it. Yep. And you can see my little octopus swimming in there. Probably my favorite foraged tea that I've found so far. I really enjoy it. Thanks. I don't need to end it with thanks.